Hey comrades, LeftTube here, and sorry you had to wait so long for this video. I've just been feeling like shit for the past few days because on Friday I stayed up until like 3 a.m. Watching Season 2 of Big Mouth, and that just kind of screwed up my very delicate sleep schedule. But anyways, here I am back at it again, doing even better. Today I would like to talk about a video by PragerU. Now, I will completely admit Prager is a straw man. Like, many conservatives can agree with me here that Dennis Prager uses bad arguments and just pulls shit out of his ass on a daily basis. So, making a video on him isn't really proving very much. Still, though, this video is just so badly argued that I just couldn't help but pick from the low-hanging fruit here. He makes outright bullshit claims, and the bigger problem is that this video could be dangerous to young minds. This video is called What's Wrong with E-Cigarettes? And in the video, they try to make e-cigarettes look innocent. This is so dangerous because in the video, they don't even bring up that vapes are for kids. Seriously, not once. So, without further ado, let's get debunking.
Imagine if there were an alternative to smoking cigarettes. Imagine this alternative could help millions of people quit smoking and came with only a fraction of the harmful chemicals that cigarettes do. Well, you don't have to imagine it. It exists.
That's right, they are. And there's a lot of potential with them for helping you quit smoking. There's actually, but there are very few who actually use it to quit, but rather to start. Because people like you sit here defending it as if it were Jesus Christ.
E-cigarettes are the most innovative and promising smoking cessation product yet invented. So public health officials and anti-tobacco activists are all in favor of this life-saving innovation, right? Actually, they're almost all totally against it. Why? Because, incredibly, they make no substantial distinction between e-cigarettes and real cigarettes.
They aren't against the use of e-cigs to quit smoking, and neither am I. But the biggest problem is that people don't see them as harmful, especially not young and impressionable children and teens. A survey showed that about 2 million middle and high school students, or 10% of all middle and high school students, are vaping in some way, shape, or form nationwide, according to U.S. News, because you act like it's perfectly safe. The organization for that is called Children's Health says nicotine is a chemical that can affect neurological health, especially in teens whose brains are still developing, end quote. While it is especially harmful to developing brains, it can also be harmful to fully developed ones. Nicotine can cause irritability once you begin dependence on it. It can create mood swings and in some cases paranoia.
Even though they are completely different products. To begin with, e-cigarettes aren't cigarettes. They contain no tobacco. Instead, a liquid containing nicotine derived from tobacco leaves is vaporized, and users of e-cigarettes inhale that vapor. Vapor, mind you, not smoke.
As I mentioned, nicotine is still a very harmful substance, especially when you introduce young impressionable kids with developing brains to it and tell them it's okay to use it. And so what? Yes, smoke is more harmful than vapor, but you're still delivering the chemicals to your body.
This is significant because the real harm from tobacco comes from the combustion process, which releases hundreds of toxic compounds known as tar. Since e-cigarettes have no tobacco and no combustion, they release no tar.
Perhaps it doesn't put tar in your organs, which makes it useful to quit, keyword quit, but people aren't quitting, they're starting.
This makes them, according to Britain's Department of Health, at least 95% less harmful than tobacco cigarettes. E-cigarettes do contain nicotine, an addictive drug. However, there's little evidence that nicotine alone is bad for you, making it similar to, say, caffeine.
You dipshit, are you comparing caffeine to nicotine? Really, you dunce. There's no way that these people are serious. They know that this is bullshit. They're completely aware of the fact that they're just spewing out whatever they can possibly think of here. Do I even need to show a comparison? Here's what caffeine does to your body, and here's nicotine.
A drug used every day by millions of people. Brad Rodew, an oral cancer specialist at the University of Louisville, put it this way: I love coffee, and I'm sure I could get caffeine if I smoked my coffee beans. But I would be paying a much different price in overall health if I did.
This is an oral health expert, not mental, not respiratory, or digestive. This covers oral health. And hey, at least they don't market caffeine to goddamn teenagers.
In other words, when it comes to addictive substances like caffeine or nicotine, it isn't the addictive substance that's harmful, it's how it's delivered.
I've already covered the addictive chemical being very harmful, so let's look at the economic side of the addiction. Your average vape user says a bottle of vape juice lasts about a week. So, a 120 milliliter bottle is about $12. Let's say you vape for 20 years before you beat the horrible addiction. You have spent $12,480. You can buy a goddamn car with that money.
As South African psychiatrist Mike Russell said about cigarettes, people smoke for the nicotine, but they die from the tar.
You don't die from nicotine, but it can have very negative side effects.
And again, there is no tar in e-cigarettes. Does this all mean that e-cigarettes are completely safe? Of course not. Nothing is completely safe.
For a second there, I thought this was the part where you say, kids shouldn't vape. But this is a PragerU video, so, we can't expect something like that.
E-cigarettes are a relatively new innovation, so more research is needed, especially on long-term effects. There's also a place for sensible regulation to ensure consumer safety. But unlike normal everyday products, any potential risk posed by e-cigarettes is far outweighed by a real, not potential, good. Saving lives by providing the nicotine that smokers enjoy without delivering the deadly toxins that can kill them. Many former smokers have successfully used e-cigarettes to help them kick their nicotine addiction altogether.
Yes, and others have started doing it because you're selling them the fact that it's completely safe.
A recent study in an Oxford Journal peer-reviewed publication, Nicotine and Tobacco Research, said that e-cigarettes could reduce smoking-related deaths by 21%.
And that would be awesome. I'm all for people using vapes to quit smoking. I just think that a vape should only be used when you plan to quit smoking.
That's thousands of lives every year. John Britton, an epidemiologist and director of the University of Nottingham's Center for Tobacco and Alcohol Studies, is even more optimistic. E-cigarettes are the first genuinely new way of helping people stop smoking that has come along in decades. They have the potential to help half or more of all smokers get off cigarettes. So again, you'd think public health officials and anti-tobacco groups would be doing everything they could to encourage smokers to switch to e-cigarettes. Instead, they push for laws and rules that equate the two products. Cigarettes are bad, so e-cigarettes must also be bad.
I consider Medical News Today to be anti-smoking, and here's them saying e-cigarettes are safer than cigarettes.
As of August 2016, the U.S. Food and Drug Administration has ruled that all e-cigarettes must go through a long and expensive application process. This process could end up costing as much as $1 million per new product.
Yes, to ensure that those using it are not minors and are using it with the main intention of quitting smoking.
While some of the biggest manufacturers will be able to shoulder the costs and navigate the regulatory mess, most small e-cigarette companies will be forced out of business.
E-cigs shouldn't be a business. They should be something provided to those who have a prescription to use them from doctors.
With less competition, e-cigarettes will become more expensive, and many people will go right back to smoking.
I love how the people who made a video on how great Rockefeller was are now suddenly anti-monopoly.
E-cigarette prohibitionists may think they're using a better safe than sorry approach to save consumers from some yet-to-be-discovered danger, but they're not. They're actually endangering millions of smokers who would make the switch if the e-cigarette market were allowed to flourish.
Well, let's flip that on its head and say that 10% of middle and high school students using e-cigs would go up if unregulated, endangering millions. How about that?
As Joe Nocera, a New York Times columnist, wrote, equating smoking cigarettes with inhaling e-cigarettes is a huge disservice to public health. On the scale of potential harms, e-cigarettes aren't even in the same ballpark as combustible cigarettes. They have the potential to save millions of lives. The government needs to develop a new paradigm for dealing with e-cigarettes, one that ensures basic standards but recognizes their relative safety and immense benefit to public health. If they don't, more people will die. Imagine that. I'm Caroline Kitchens of the R Street Institute for Prager University.
In conclusion, e-cigs can be very useful to help people quit smoking. But when you sell this idea that they're 100% safe, you allow young, impressionable minds to hold the idea that e-cigs are safe for them. Well, anyways, if you liked this video, leave a big thumbs up and subscribe, and if you didn't, I'd like to hear why in the comments. I will see you later, comrades.